This week I ended up watching two movies from the 1980s which I've never seen before, and both of these films have left quite an impression, and they also both had some surprising parallels. I went into both these movies blind, not really knowing much about them except that they were both failures, relative failures at the box office originally, when they originally came out. One of these movies was made in 1985, the other in 1989. The one was released by Cannon Entertainment Group, another by New World Cinema. Both films feature a charismatic, violent and completely psychotic protagonist who ends up going all the way, who follow their maniacal ideas through to the end and have their hands mangled in the process. Those are just coincidences. I didn't pick these movies to go as a double bill. One movie was directed by a Russian filmmaker, another by an American. And both these movies have qualities which drew me to 1980s films. They're comparatively low tech by today's standards, and the stories are more about people's relationships and making choices. Runaway Train by Andrei Konchalovsky and Heathers by a director called Michael Lemmon. Runaway Train stars Jon Voight and Eric Roberts. Tommy Tiny Lister Jr. and Danny Trejo pop up, seeing the Canon logo at the beginning obviously puts you in the mood for ninjas or arm wrestling or some absurdity, space vampires maybe, but what you get with the Runaway Train is a gritty, and I mean gritty, drama. It's a film that completely captured me within the first 12 to 15 minutes. I was within the story. I loved every shot of it. I loved the score. I loved the editing. I've been putting off watching Runaway Train for quite a while. Now that I've watched it, I'm compelled to revisit it immediately. It's just such a powerful film. The story is both banal and powerful. In the final minutes the music kind of goes a bit wimpy, so I thought that was a minor little complaint about an otherwise really electrifying film. It warrants its own standalone review. I wouldn't call it comfort viewing. It's quite a harrowing film, but it embodies so many qualities I love about 1980s films. Framing and locations and costuming and definitely sound effects. It's just a very, very beautiful example of a 1980s movie. Heathers. Now this one I went into completely blind. I just thought, well, a couple of familiar faces in the cast, their early roles for Christian Slater and Winona Ryder, why not? I had no idea what the film was. I vaguely thought this would be like a college movie, maybe like Breakfast Club or whatever. And what I got instead was a kind of a late 1980s Fight Club. It's like a Jekyll and Hyde story. Quite well written, some hilarious lines here and there. Heathers toes the line pretty well between trashy comedy and nerdy comedy and this coming-of-age drama. For the most part, the film succeeds. I don't want to really give away the story. I mean, I haven't really heard about this film, so I don't know how famous it is, but in case you don't know it, I would just going into it blind and, see what happens. I'm really glad I did. The film is a tiny bit overlong. It could have lost maybe 3 or 4 minutes. But otherwise, it's an enjoyable ride. It's quirky. It's what I really liked about it was also the music, unusual, atmospheric, sort of analog, synthetic sounds, which I was pleasantly surprised how they counterpointed this this dark comedy. So Heathers is a film I'll be revisiting again. It was really refreshing seeing such a pitiless and witty take on teenage angst and misery. So those are two 1980s films I wish were better known, and I think they deserve exposure. Great films. Runaway Train and Heathers.